Hello and welcome to another Tinto Talks. And this time, oh boy, there is some absolutely gorgeous artwork to go with it. Of course, we're talking today about professional armies, about levies, and about mercenaries. And we get this lovely art of the 100 Years' War. And oh my god, I love it. I love it so much. I was not expecting to have this level of artwork this early, but I will absolutely take it. Whoever the artist is, fucking great job. That's beautiful. I love it. Anyway, oh, so good though. It's so good though. Anyway, let's move on and have a look at Tinto Talks number 11. Up to the 11th in of these about the super secret game. Yes, it's super secret. This time we'll talk about military matters and the differences between levies, mercenaries, and regular regiments. And I am obviously this is, if we're going to draw any parallels to other games that Paradox have released, then this is like the Dev Diary 22 from Victoria 3. That's when they started talking about military matters. But we're getting it 11 Dev Diaries early. And I can't see this one being quite as polarizing as that one. So anyway, they also are releasing Winds of Change DLC today. I won't have a video out for that, but I do have a multiplayer starting on Saturday. So go follow my Twitch if you want to, keep up to date with that and watch the first session. I'm going to be playing as Holland. It's going to be a good time. But anyway, let us go and have a look at what we have going for us in the military matters in Project Caesar. Also, if this launch goes well, he can ask the team to start doing map feedback posts later this week. Yo, maps later this week. That's beautiful. I hope... I've played a little bit. I haven't seen any massive problems with Winds of Change, so I think the launch is going to go well. So maybe we're going to get some maps soon. I would very much enjoy that. But anyway, let's go on to military organization. There is a very large number of different types of units. They all belong to one of 4 different categories: infantry, cavalry, artillery, and auxiliary. This is new. Could this be something like the donkeys that we had in Imperator Rome that carried, food and supplies and such? Possibly. Infantry is usually the bulk of most armies, and the other categories have specific roles in a campaign. The size of a regiment varies over time, with the earliest regiments using 100 men, while at the end of the game there are around 3,200 men in each infantry regiment. Okay, that's interesting. Having that change over time. Obviously in EU4 we are stuck with 1,000 at the very start and the very end of the game per regiment. Cavalry, artillery, and auxiliary units have different sizes. Oh, beautiful. Actually, so goated, because one thing that I always disliked about EU4 is artillery having just 1,000. 1,000 what? No idea. It's certainly not 1,000 cannons. So this is very, very exciting to see. Hopefully we get specific amounts of guns to go along with our armies. That would be so nice. We also categorize a regiment as either a levy, a mercenary, or a regular regiment. Any army can freely rearrange those into any stack they want. Beautiful. That's confirmation that the mercenary system from EU4 is going away. It's out the window. We're not getting that back. That's awesome. Yeah, we can rearrange them into any stack we want. Beautiful. And split up their regiments as the player sees fit. So if you want to have half of a mercenary company in one army and the other half in another army, that's perfectly fine in this game. Actually, so nice. So nice. That is going to really help quite a bit. So here we have some horse archers. Yo, are we playing Imperator up in here? What the heck? So we have cavalry horse archers. They require leather, they require horses, and they require weaponry for construction. They have a maintenance cost. They require maintenance. Oh boy. They require maintenance of leather, horses, and weaponry, and also -1, I assume, manpower monthly. So, regardless of whether they are fighting, they will, consistently lose men over time. They have a maximum strength of 100 men. Combat power, we've got frontage. Is that maybe their flanking range, potentially? Something along those lines? How wide they are taking up on the combat grid, if we're having those back. They have morale damage done, unit weight per strength. So I imagine something along the lines of Imperator's unit weight to determine how much food that they're going to be taking. They have a food storage, so yes, it looks like we're getting that from Imperator. Awesome. Their consumption, their movement speed, okay. Cavalry moving faster than infantry, faster than artillery, seems to be a thing then. Awesome. Combat speed, I have no idea. What combat speed is, I have no idea. Their initiative, I don't know. And flanking ability, so that's not frontage. So we got new things here. Frontage is new. Combat speed, initiative is new. We have no idea what these mean. We have literally no idea what these mean. So, riders from the steppes have specialized in two ways of mountain combat, lances or archery. For the latter, the development of stronger but smaller bows has given them the mobility of the horses and the accuracy and fast volley that short bows provide, making them ideal for hit-and-run tactics. It's a unique cav unit from the First Age that some cultures have access to. Okay, this is, I feel, very, very Imperator-style warfare, which I'm not against. I think Imperator-style warfare is fine. The only part of it that I don't want to see come back is having to choose a tactic before battles. And Johann's also already commented that that was a bit of a failed system, so I don't think we're getting it back, or if we do, it's going to be heavily reworked. So, awesome. Awesome stuff. Now, levies. First of all, we have levies, where you can raise your able-bodied fighting men into a fighting force. This provides you with a lot of people who can fight for you, but the levies have a few slight drawbacks. First of all, you can't raise them when you're not at war or facing rebels. Alright, okay. So you have to use professionals or mercenaries to face rebels then? Is that what we're seeing? Unless, rebels are, we've seen already that rebels will form their own countries, civil wars at least, so maybe that will count as a war and you'll be able to raise your levies for that. Secondly, when you raise your levies, those pops you raise them from are decreased in size to represent the pops going off to war, and any dead men in a levy is a population permanently lost. Speaking of that, levies do not spawn with any experience to speak of, and you have no direct control over the type of units you get. Another slight drawback is that levies do not reinforce during a campaign either. Yo. That's a lot. That is something very, very impactful. You cannot reinforce your levies during a campaign. Doesn't matter if they're in your land, if you're out on campaign in someone else's land, those troops will never reinforce. That is huge. That is so huge. Okay. A province where the levies have been raised will also produce less food and raw materials. There is a post on the forums right now. It's one of the more popular current posts. It's keep getting quite a lot of responses. Called "War Needs to Be Costly." I think that's exactly what it's called. Let me just go and check. War should be an expensive affair. Yeah, you got your wish, my dude. You got your wish. The war here is expensive. Troops will not reinforce. These are actual pops that are just going to die. They won't reinforce. You're going to have to rely on mercenaries, I imagine, quite a bit more. They will cost more. This is huge. This really, really is huge. You can either raise all your levies or from any province individually. So this is obviously for Sweden. And the amount of levies that they can raise from each of their provinces, and another 2,400 from 12 other provinces. Yeah, raising all able-bodied men in the Kingdom of Sweden will get us 12,000 men at the start of the game. Those are bigger army sizes than in EU4 at the start of the game, I think, right? I think Sweden starts with roughly 12,000 But obviously, this is Sweden in EU4 is 100 years later than Sweden in EU5. So, yeah. Mercenaries. There are many mercenary companies available in the world, and each area has at least a few possible to recruit. However, these are not endless free manpower, as other nations may be recruiting them before you can. A mercenary company signs up for at least a 2-year contract, but you can extend the contract if you so desire. More on how mercenaries can be recruited in a later talk. Okay. They're not endless free manpower, and they are in the world. Are they going to be like Imperator mercenaries? So they're based in an area. You hire them, and you have to, pay them again. It's the same as Imperator in that way, but you can also split them up as much as you want, like we saw up here. Yeah, I would like to know more about mercenaries. There's not a whole lot here on that one. But anyway, your regular army consists of the regiments that you do not want to disband, and they require manpower to recruit. This recruitment cannot be done everywhere, though, as you need special buildings to allow recruitment of military units. Fantastic. Usually these are the same types of buildings that also provide you with manpower. As the ages go by, you go from only some special buildings providing a minuscule amount of manpower to being able to build conscription centers in your core culture locations. Okay. So something like, you actually can't build units until you build a barracks, which is certainly an interesting way of going about it, and I think makes a lot of sense. If I think to basically how, say, Imperator works, right? You conquer a new region, even if you just take one tile in this new region, you can instantly raise 2,000 new men. But here you're going to actually have to have a barracks being built so that you can have those men to recruit. So I tentative, positive feelings. But anyway, manpower. Originally, what I had said a long time ago is I don't think there is a need for manpower with a pop system. I have sort of changed my mind on this, but let's see how manpower works in Project Caesar. Speaking of manpower, in Project Caesar, this is primarily generated by buildings. Now you may ask, why do we need manpower when we have pops? That is exactly what I asked. Yes, it was. Well, for us, manpower represents more or less the semi-trained men that can be used in a military force, and what is important, whenever a regiment loses strength, be it from attritional combat, you will lose pops as well. So, maybe manpower is going to be, especially at the early game, going to be a lot less. You're going to have, hiring these professional soldiers. When they die, they both pops die, and you need to reinforce it from manpower, which is also pops. It's not like a separate thing. It's like maybe like a qualifier on top of pops. Is that sort of way that I'm thinking about it? Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. So here we have the Kurultai for the Mongol steppe hordes. That has 5,000 peasant population. It will give 50 monthly manpower. It means you can recruit regiments there. It has leather, cloth, I believe this is paper and weaponry, to produce, to construct it. It requires it down here, stone, lumber, weaponry, and then their production method to keep it running is that. Okay. I'm not sure what the book icon means, though the apple meant you can upgrade it, so this maybe means you can't, potentially? I don't know. One other aspect to take into account when it comes to manpower is that Project Caesar does not have force limits. Interesting. But instead you're limited by how many regiments you can maintain. Every regiment requires some manpower each month to maintain the current level of troops. It also requires a fair amount of goods each month, and if it does not have access to it, morale will drop, and it will not be able to reinforce or maintain its current strength. I love this. I love this so much, because in EU4, force limit is not a military modifier. Force limit is an economic modifier. If you have the money, force limit is irrelevant. But it doesn't really make sense that way. Here, your force limit is literally, can I supply this? Do I have the trading network to be able to supply the the horses, the leather, the weaponry? Do I have the economic base in my homeland to be able to produce the leather, the horses, the weaponry, and whatever else other units are going to require? That is, in my opinion, way, way, way cooler, way more in-depth, way more realistic than an arbitrary force limit number. I like this a lot. I like this a hell of a lot. That's awesome. As you may have noticed in some of the screenshots above, units do have a fair bit of unique attributes. There are some common ones for your entire country. So we have discipline, military tactics, amiral, and then power. So discipline impacts damage taken, damage done, same as EU4. Tactics impacts damage taken. Is that the same as EU4? I thought tactics was also about damage done. I don't know. I actually don't know. Army morale, which impacts how long your armies are willing to fight before breaking. And then their power, which impacts damage done for that category. So power, you can sort of think of this like combat ability. In ICA, CCA, ACA, the infantry combat ability. And it has been renamed to power, basically, is what that looks like. There is also the army tradition, which is gained primarily from the average experience of your armies, which can be increased by drilling them and impacts morale and siege ability of your armies, while also slowly pushing you towards land on the land versus naval societal values. Okay. This is very much more akin to Imperator than it is to EU4. I quite like it. There was one time a while ago when Johan basically said he didn't see the need for army professionalism and army tradition. So I guess those are kind of getting merged into one and just under army tradition. But yeah, I quite like that. It's not everything related to military, of course. As well, I have to talk about navies, talk about logistics, and talk about the combat system planned. I like it. I want to know it. I want to know it. Next week, though, we'll be back to something completely different, rather new and unique features. Okay, so just dipping our toes into the military matters before we're dipping back out and looking at something new and unique. Whatever that is, I don't know. What are my thoughts on this dev diary? What are my thoughts on the planned military escapades? It's positive. It honestly is positive. I love the idea of the army levies. I love that it's actually going to be quite costly on your country to just constantly be at war raising levies. At some point, you're going to run out of men to throw at the problem. I wonder if there will be a restriction on re-raising levies during a war. So say I have raised 2,071 men from Västergötland. Am I then going to be, having this war? It's going to be quite devastating. I'm going to lose, say I lose all of them, say they get stack wiped. Am I then going to be able to raise more men from Västergötland? Obviously not immediately, because I raised all of them that were possible, but that province is still going to grow while the war is going on. Am I then going to be able to raise an extra 150 men that have just come of age during the time the war has been fought? Is that going to be possible? Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But yes, I like it. Also, hold up a second. First of all, you can't raise them when you're not at war or facing rebels. I think this is written wrong, because I've just looked here. We can only raise army levies or naval... Okay, naval levies are also a thing, so sailors is how we're going to get that. When our country's at war or is facing rebels. So this is quite literally the opposite. This is literally the opposite. You can't raise them when you're not at war or not facing rebels. It's written badly, but... You can raise them when you're fighting rebels. Okay, glad we got that cleared up, because I was a little bit concerned about that one. But okay, we got that cleared up. It's just a little bit badly written. Mercenaries, I need to know more about them. I definitely do not want to see a situation like Imperator where you see, dozens and dozens of mercenary units on the map standing around. I don't want to see that. I just don't. I didn't like the mercenary system in Imperator, and I think just allowing you to have the ability to split them up and add them into separate armies isn't really going to fix that for me. I hope that's changed from Imperator. But regular regiments look awesome. Manpower looks, you know, completely functional. Force limit looks, I mean, it's not there. So I'm very, very happy. And yeah, I would like to know your thoughts as well. Please do leave them in the comment section below, and be prepared for, in a few days, I will be releasing another video on Tinto Talks where I look at all of the answers and comments that Johan has been giving us in the comment section. He's quite prolific, and I'm sure there will be lots to talk about. A lot of questions, a lot of answers, and hopefully we'll get some good stuff. But yeah, go and enjoy this artwork again, and I will see you in a few days. Bye-bye.